Cheryl, are you the greatest women's basketball player?
No.
Girl bye.
That's okay.
One of the greatest basketball players on the men's side had a sister that was better.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese as Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
Is Caitlin Clark a freaking baller?
Yeah.
Is she a generational player? When I looked up in the rafters, I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't envision my jersey, but I wanted to hang a banner.
Back in the day, schools couldn't fly you out. You would have to fly yourself out to the school.
That is why. What? When you're coming down and you have 100 points, what are the eyes of the opponents like?
What's up, everyone? Today I'm joined by two of the most influential faces in the history of women's basketball, two LA legends in their own right, Candace Parker and the great USC Trojan, Cheryl Miller. What's up? How y'all doing?
Are you kidding
I
me?
am just...
Come on! Come on!
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Thanks
Well,
for having
you
us.
and me both, because I've been knowing Cheryl since I was about 8 years old. So this is interesting. I never thought I would have...
So I'm gonna get some
Full
stories.
circle.
That's what that means.
No, I just never
Absolutely.
thought I would sit down
Full circle.
with Cheryl Miller and come full circle. I never thought it. So what did early in you guys' career, your hoop dreams look like at an early age? I didn't start playing football till I was a sophomore in high school. So when you look back on your career, both of you had great brothers that played sports in the NBA, obviously, and you look at where you guys ended up in your careers, and how did you shape that competitiveness to go on to the WNBA and be what you are, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, and obviously Hall of Famer, you, Cheryl Miller, in your careers?
Well, I guess I'm a little different because everybody say I'm a pioneer, but there was so many other women before me. There's Ann Myers, Nancy Lieberman, Lynette Woodard, and we didn't have the travel ball, we had AAU. So two older brothers, just like Candace here, and playing in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Candace?
I think my brothers were 100% what shaped my future. Like I wanted to do and be and try everything they did. But honestly, I have to give it to my parents, because to be a little girl growing up in that like the 96 Olympics, I think changed a lot just because it was the Title IX babies and it was 20 something years later and all that stuff, and to see it and all that. But like my parents being okay with me being the little girl that was in tights coming back with holes in them, and at recess being sweaty coming in, like, you know, so I think my parents really like set the groundwork for like, you can do and be anything you want. Like, we're not going to limit you or treat you any different than the boys. And so
I'm just smiling because you said 96 Olympics was your moment. 76 was my moment with Ann Myers and Olympics and a silver medal. Kid, I'm old.
No, you're not. No, listen. Age ain't nothing but a number. It's just
Yeah, that's
True that.
That's it.
That's good. Cheryl, so your brother Reggie was on All the Smoke, and he got emotional talking about you and the impact that you had on him as a big sis. He considers you obviously the GOAT, much like Candace, myself, and many others. Tell me about what that. Give him his flowers, so to speak, about the way that made you feel.
See, I'm not going to get emotional because I think I'm all cried out. But Reggie's my heart. That's my baby brother. We're a year apart. We grew up, you know, beating each other up, challenging each other in every sport, any game. And to see him be that emotional, and you know Reggie's very stoic. And it's one thing to kind of get choked up, but to see and allow himself to be vulnerable on television, it was overwhelming for me. And I didn't know, you know that your brothers love you, you know that my sister loves me, but for him to articulate that and to say that he would go to the grave knowing that, I just, there's such a deep love and respect that I have for him. and for him to show that side of him and share that was more than touching.
How many one-on-one games in y'all prime you would have dusted him?
She said all that aside. I love him. I love him, but
no, I used to give it to him. I used to hand it to him, and again, we were all cool until I told him to get up and let's go play some, pickup game. Let's go out in the backyard. Let's see what you got. I'm fresh off of like dusting up the McGee twins. I'm handling mine. Come on, what you got, son? What you got, son?
Yeah, you was probably heavier than Reggie back then too.
Reggie, when he talks about her, like his face just lights up. Like hearing from him the amount of respect he's had for his sister, and like I remember sitting and watching his Hall of Fame speech and him talking about how he grew up from a goat, 2 doors down from a goat, in the same household. And so how much he speaks about her shaping his career. So
Let's see, what he doesn't know is I wouldn't be where I am, not only as a basketball player, but as a commentator, as a human being. His work ethic, Key and Candace, beyond reproach. I had to raise my bar constantly because of how hard and how often and how he would pay so much attention to the little things in his shot, the release, when he came down, his first step, the jab step. So I'm a great player because I played against the great as well.
And he's still a little brother, though, because he went to UCLA and you went to USC.
Yeah, we don't even talk about that, though. We don't even...
He was like, he did the little brother thing. Like, guess what? All right, you got USC.
But there was no
I'm going to go to
way.
UCLA.
He had to. There was no way he could have gone to USC. He had to.
But
do
he
UCLA.
was only, what was he, 2 years behind you?
He's a year behind me, but
behind
the program was...
It was a right move for his basketball career.
SC is known for its football team, Key, as you know, and for the women's basketball team.
Yeah, he made the right move for his basketball career, no question about it. If it was coming out right now in this day and age, it may not matter as much, but UCLA was the gold standard for basketball in Southern California. So who were the most notable people in your circle that made you guys into the dogs you are today? I know obviously Candace, we talk about, you talked about openly about the great Pat Summitt and the impact she had on your career. Speak to that a little bit for me.
Yeah, my first coach growing up was my dad. So my dad was really hard on me. I mean, everything was my fault on the court. Like, I would be on the bench and be like, well, you got 2 fouls. Like, you should have been in there. Or, like, they turned it over because you didn't go to the offensive board, so you're not on the floor. Like, that was how I grew up. And so it was a seamless transition. And I see now, as a mom, why my parents wanted me to go to Tennessee. Like, it was about basketball. 100%, I wanted to be a professional basketball player. I wanted to play on the biggest stage. I wanted to play in front of a lot of people and have women's basketball be the center and focal point of wherever I went. But my parents saw so much more in that and what Pat could make me into a better human.
How was Pat as a recruiter? I'm just curious.
Pat as a recruiter, she was straightforward. Like, she didn't tell me I would start when I'd come to Tennessee. Like, all the other coaches were like, you'll come in, immediate impact, all this stuff. Pat's like, we gonna see. And it's crazy because she knows how you tick. So she knew how to recruit based on my personality and things like that. And so Coach Summitt was a great role model in modeling, like, what she expected us to be. Like, she was everything that she expected us to be. And I'm still learning lessons from her to this day in how I parent, how I'm a teammate, how I operate, after basketball, how I balance motherhood and career. And so I didn't realize that one choice when I was 18 years old would impact my life the way it has.
That's
So, you asked her, Cheryl, about the recruiting process in Pat Summitt. The only thing I can think of is the conference they're in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
I know Pat didn't play that.
Simple.
Yeah,
Hey, come
Pat
to Tennessee. We got something for you.
Key, what's fascinating and listening to you talk about Pat Summitt, well, I played for Pat Head Summitt.
Yep.
And there was a big difference Tell the truth and shame the devil.
I hear about Pat Evolved. I heard Pat Evolved a little.
Pat Summitt was a beast. I mean, you talking about, she was the female version of Bobby Knight. For those who don't remember Bobby Knight, she was tough. So this fond and soft and cuddly Pat Summitt 2.0, I never met her. Never met her.
I hear from, the seasoned players. We're not going to call them.
I appreciate it.
I hear from the seasoned players.
Old season,
I hear
whatever.
from the
Where did
seasoned
you have her
players.
at?
I had her for the Olympics. For the
Olympics,
team.
okay.
Yeah.
So she was angry at me because we beat her in the finals.
Yep.
Yeah.
She always tells that story.
She was coming off of,
She would always tell that story.
That was my second championship. And I was acting a fool on the sidelines and stuff. And then someone's like, Cheryl, she's going to be coaching you during the Olympics. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
What is your first memory of either watching or hearing about Cheryl?
So I grew up in an era where my parents were like, oh, you're going to know the players.
Yeah.
Like, my dad would just say a name at the table, and if I didn't know it, I knew that it would be some sort of, like, we were going on Saturday to go figure out how to see this player or whatever. Like,
wow.
Yeah, like, that's how I grew up. And so my parents were very intentional in what they showed me, and there wasn't a lot of film on women at that time. And so obviously I remember watching Reggie play the Bulls, and my dad was like, Reggie has a sister
that's better than him.
Yeah, like, and I just thought that was so cool that, like, one of the greatest basketball players on the men's side had a sister that was better.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with that. And I didn't meet Cheryl. And I don't think she understands how much I respect her and idolized her and watched her. And then I got to Tennessee, and Coach Summitt, the best compliment she gave me was not the Shamiqua, not the Tamika, like, you're in that echelon. It was, you move like Cheryl. And I'll never to this day forget that. Like, you move like Cheryl. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, like, I did a project on her. She don't even probably know this, in 8th grade. Like, it was all of this. And
what grade did you get?
I got an A.
Okay. We'll take it.
But I say all that to say that, like, it was consistent. And then as I've gotten older, to be able to meet her, like, it's been surreal.
Do you remember the first time you met her? I remember the first time I met her.
Okay.
I was about 9 years old. She was coming out of high school. We had a
age, huh?
That's all right.
I wouldn't let that go.
First of all, this young dude, what I loved about him is how articulate he was. At 8 years old, he knew exactly what he was going to do. Mm-hmm. He didn't know what college or whatnot. He knew the sport that he wanted to play. And the whole time I'm having this conversation with this kid, he's looking me eye to eye. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Polite and everything else.
I just wanted free tickets.
And I'm like, yes.
The truth comes out.
And looking at me the whole time, I'm like, I said, this kid's going somewhere. Didn't know, but this kid's going somewhere.
Yeah, we was, neighborhood where USC is at, a surrounding around neighborhood. So at that time, you were welcome as community kids to just hang around. So
there were no borders.
No borders at all. And so they were going up to practice, and we were hanging out by the track. And you see all these tall women, right? And then Cheryl got the pretty hair, the curly hair. I'm like, I think that's the girl. We little rugrats. And then they take us up with them to their basketball practice. And we're sitting there watching them play basketball in the old gym. It was crazy. So that's when I first met her.
Well, I first officially met her because obviously I've seen her on television. I know her through Reggie. Actually, Reggie found out I loved her and called her, and we, had a conversation, whatever. It was actually a couple years ago at the Final Four. Was the first time we really officially, like...
Was that the first time?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because my wife took the picture, and she's like, are you crying? I'm like, I might be. It's just misty in here. Yes. Like, that was the first time we really officially, like, met. And the amount of respect I have for her and how much, like, she means to women's basketball, I think is just, all of us feel it and know it. And so it's just, the feeling is mutual. She is an icon.
Of course. So Tina Thompson recently said, and quote, "No debate, Cheryl Miller is the greatest women's basketball player of all times. I'm asking this question flat out to both of you. Cheryl, are you the greatest women's basketball player of all time?
Girl, bye.
No.
Respectfully, girl, bye.
No.
It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
You know what? To be honest, I'm one of many.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm just serious.
That ain't what we believe, though.
Well, it's debatable. Depending on who you ask, it's debatable. But I've been fortunate to play with great coaches, great players, and be in the right spot at the right time. Period.
So I can't believe you just did that to me, though. You didn't just say, "Yeah, I'm her." Period.
I can't, because I'm goofy enough to say that and then try to walk off set and roll an ankle. I ain't gonna be the one.
What you think, Candace?
100%. She's always been
100%.
that. And this isn't like this year, me saying that. Like if you asked me years ago,
Yeah.
it was the case. We actually had a conversation at the USC game about this. Like, you know, when you look at somebody, you could tell by the way they move.
Yeah.
Like they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cheryl just had a before her time, before her era, fit her in any era, and she's successful.
Yeah.
You know, we had the era debate,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
You put her in this era, it doesn't matter. She's gonna do what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that mid-range, that stop on a dime, that separation, that play off of 2 feet, that athleticism to be able to take off in transition. I mean, like she had all that. That sweet jump shot.
With knee pads on.
Yeah, with knee pads on.
The knee pads.
Hey, they were necessary.
And I'm saying, listen, and I'm saying this.
That was necessary.
I'm saying this without,
Cheryl had
without trainers, without like trying to increase your vert by a certain amount, but without the like Instagram basketball drills you're doing, like you can tell somebody that just loved basketball, that just played it. And like, I feel like when you're the blueprint, I have this argument all the time. Because to me, the GOAT is Michael Jordan. He'll always be the GOAT to me.
I agree.
So if you are the blueprint and people are trying to recreate what you did, you are the GOAT.
And
like
on
that's
top of that,
there's
though,
no.
Candace, you dunked before, but Cheryl's 6'1.5".
Oh yeah, I know.
And dunked.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. Actually, we gonna have to measure her because she might not be 6'1.5".
You know what? That's cool, but
No, she was 6'1". In college, she was 6'1.5".
She might be a little shorter.
Oh, that may be true.
The key. But watching her dunk and Lisa Leslie, now that's dunking.
Yeah, but
You took it to a whole you were like when you went up, you would dunk and then just glide down. I'm like, see, yeah, that's how I envisioned it when I was doing
Cheryl,
it.
what people don't know is like the knee injuries. Like we're looking at dunking like this, and I'm like, I wish I would have had the opportunity. I know you wish you would have had the opportunity to actually grow into like being a woman and like being able to be explosive and all that stuff. We hadn't even hit that yet. You know, before all that. So
that's why it's so impressive to me, because it's not that she's 6'7" or nothing like that. I mean, she's, I'll call her 6'1.5" with my eyes watching her play. To be able to just...
How tall are you
6'2".
really?
6'2".
Okay, so I'm going to give her 6'2". But 6'2",
you got one more time to look over here.
think about it though, Candace.
We cool right now, but you got one more time to give me
it's
I gave her 6'1.5".
Give me that knob one more time over here. I got something over here.
But that's impressive though. Impressive.
It's impressive, and that just speaks. But here's the thing: she grew up in a household that probably was like, "That's cool." Like that's the expectation. Exactly.
That's all you got.
That was
That's all you got.
It was that. That's what kept you motivated.
So both of y'all, give me your all-time Mount Rushmore of the WNBA.
I defer.
Ooh.
No, I want to hear from both.
No, I'm not going to do it. People know where I live.
Yeah, these are always hard conversations.
This is really what we're doing.
Mad.
Okay, having played in the WNBA or women's because
WNBA, because Cheryl obviously would be a super champion and all that.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's just go. Let's go WNBA opposed to women's basketball. Just the WNBA.
You know, it's funny because I was just on the book tour and I got asked this question like twice, and I think I said different lineups.
Okay. All right, so this will be the third different.
So we will say a third different
lineup.
Okay, my GOATs are the people that inspired me and shaped my game, because I feel like the GOATs are usually the blueprint. And so, to be honest with you, I think Tisha Pinachero is one of the best point guards to ever play the game. And she shaped how I viewed setting up teammates and passing and scoring and, you know, all that. I think I got to give it up to Diana Taurasi, who is one of the greats of just, I remember playing her during her prime, and it was like, if you were late showing on a screen, like, it was a layup.
Buckets.
Like, it was, yeah, you talk about logo threes. We weren't even allowed to take those shots. And Diana was like, no, shoot those shots. So 2, I would say Diana Taurasi. 3, I honestly would say Tina Thompson is a huge role model for me, and like, just in terms of being that post that can play different spots and different positions and things like that. The 4 position, I shaped my game after a Lauren Jackson. Like, Lauren Jackson to me was positionless basketball before like the Dirk Nowitzkis and all that stuff. Australian, came here at a young age, was able to stretch the floor with the shot, but also put on the deck. She was a tough guard. And 5, I would say Lisa Leslie. I think Lisa Leslie, you know, redefined kind of that 5 position. Obviously, I'm post heavy with the 3, 4, and 5, but yeah. So that's me.
So you gave me a little extra. Well, no Cheryl Swoops, you know.
Cynthia Cooper.
I mean,
Cynthia
I know
Cooper.
Cynthia Cooper is just hard because it's like, yes, she was probably on my second list.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
She was on my second list.
And she was a little bit older at the time when she started.
But no, Coop was, I mean, I grew up.
Of all time, no, I hear you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. You got to put some, when you say all time, there's,
Yeah.
it's
tough.
and I feel like I mixed in a
It's a
little old
TBD.
school with, yeah, it's true. It's always a TBD.
No,
It is.
it's tough. So currently you're on your book tour. The can-do mindset. What does that mean?
Well, growing up, I was Candace. Obviously, my family shortened my name to Can, just naturally. And growing up in the shadows of my 2 older brothers, I mean, my oldest brother played 10 years in the NBA, went overseas, had a great career as well. My middle brother, he's just a doctor. So I grew up like...
He's just a doctor.
I just grew up with 2 older brothers. He's just a doctor. That's what people say to him. I'm like, because he has 2 professional athlete siblings. And I'm like, yeah, he's definitely the black sheep of the family. But I grew up with them as the standard. And it's daunting, honestly, as a little girl that's 8 and 11 years younger than her older brothers, like imagining me at that age trying to do what they're doing. And so my mom would every time she would see me struggle with something or like think that I wasn't measuring up, she would always be like, can do. And it just became that mantra in my head of like big moments, free throws, can do. And soon her voice turned into my own. And it kind of became like what I told myself when I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up or a reminder of like the process of I deserve to be here or I'm ready for this moment type of thing. And then it just kind of turned it into an acronym. And in writing this book, I write it from the perspective of community, authenticity, navigating negativity, remembering the dash, which I think as professional athletes, we go through all these ups and downs and whatever, and we got to enjoy the process. And then season and creating opportunities. And so that's what I've written the book on. And, you know, I'm grateful for my mom first basically telling me like, yeah, you can do it.
Why is it important? Why was it important for you to include Cheryl on your book tour?
I mean, you talk about somebody that I patent my game after, but it did something to me to turn on the TV and see a woman holding her own and really being the bar on television, commentating about basketball as well. And so I think male or female, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like Cheryl opened my eyes to like basketball and being able to tell it from like your perspective. I think growing up in women's basketball, it's always women's basketball. It's always like women's basketball. Like Cheryl kind of made it basketball. And I really wanted to model how I not only played the game, but also how I spoke about the game of basketball. And so I think, you know, when she would speak on television or she would interview, like you could see the players and the amount of tremendous respect that they have for her. And I feel like in some ways I wanted that. And so she's been the bar. And when she said yes, I was like, I was so excited. I was so excited that she would do this.
What was harder for both of you? What was harder making the transition from high school to college or college to pro basketball?
For me, it was the obvious. It was college to where? College to what do I do? That was the toughest transition because there was no dub. So that was the hardest part for me. Plus, blowing out my knee. Then that was the added, now what? So that was a tough transition for me. But, you know, I found my legs and found my way.
Yeah. How for you, Candace, how difficult was it?
You know, it's so interesting. Like, I think Cheryl's getting her flowers from mainstream now. But I think, like, the players that have known always have known. And so now we're at, like, and I know I'm not answering your question, but trust me, I'll get back to that, I promise.
No, you're answering it.
I never had that.
Yeah.
I never had to think about what now until after the ball stopped bouncing 16 years later. But it's crazy that the opportunity that she created, like, she never got to dribble the ball or shoot a basket on. But the reason why we had a league was because of that. Like, the reason why I'm not sitting here saying the toughest transition for me was from college to the pros was because of the sacrifices that she made and an entire generation made. And
before me too.
And I say that because at a time now where it's like everybody wants to make it like people are jealous or people are or whatever. There's none of that. Yeah. Like, there's none of that. I am where women's basketball is. Everybody has had a hand in that.
True.
Everybody has had a hand in making sure that the game is left better than they came into it. And so to see where it's at now, I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud of the women that are taking the reins. And I hope that they are sitting there and people are asking them, are they mad in 20 years of where women's basketball is? Like, I hope that that's the case.
Yes.
Because that's the goal, you know, in all of it.
When you look at the W, Cheryl, is there one player that you see that reminds you of yourself?
Whew.
Combo players. But
no.
Yeah, I don't, like a combination
no,
of players.
and look, that's right up there with you guys trying to get out of me for me to say.
No, I didn't know. Trick question.
Because I'm just simply
That's
saying.
not a trick question.
No, there's not. I have yet to see someone go up above the rim, grab the ball one hand.
I like it.
Come down.
I like it.
Either pitch it off and start the offense or pull up. People don't realize there was no three-point line when I played. Can you imagine the damage I could have done with a three-point line? So no,
So you know, interesting, because I had that question about the damage that you would do in the WNBA right now, but you just answered it without even answering it, because you are the GOAT. That just happens.
I'm not saying I'm the GOAT. I'm just simply saying
when there's nobody like you.
Yes. What do you mean?
Deductive reasoning says.
No, I'm just. Who is it?
Like I said, I think there's a combination. I think there's a combo of players.
Absolutely.
100%. Like, I think there's a combo of players that
Asia
played.
Wilson, Enrique. You know,
I think it's more Simone Augustus in her prime, but the athleticism. Maya didn't move like you, but she was a problem in terms of transition, her athleticism.
How about the kid? Come on, Ryan.
Oh, Ryan Howard.
Yes.
Okay, to be determined. But I do think, like, combination of players, yes, but I don't think there's, like, she just played just like, no.
So there's no...
Notice how she said combination, as in plural.
So there's no...
That's what I'm saying, combinations.
There's no carbon copy like
Tennessee just got it.
Like it was, no carbon copy like it was with MJ and Kobe.
No.
Where you can...
None of that.
Like, oh, he's got a lot of it, same stuff. So something that's unique to the W that obviously does not exist in the NBA is women taking maternity leaves, right? Candace, talk me through the process of stepping away from the game and having to deal with raising kids and going through that whole maternity situation.
You know what's so crazy is I remember when I found out I was pregnant, immediately I shifted to like, well, when am I going to come back? Because I was coming off of Rookie of the Year MVP. Mm-hmm. And I think the amount of lights and what's going to be her following act, those questions like were all around me. And I had my daughter in my belly and was like, okay, how am I going to navigate this? It was more so, are people going to continue to question whether I can do this and come back and be the same? Now, mind you, as soon as I found out when I was due, I immediately circled when I wanted to come back. And so there wasn't maternity leave. There wasn't paid maternity leave. The leave
Thank you. I'm so glad
there was none of that. And so, fortunate enough, we were okay. But it was more so about getting back to the game. And so 53 days later, after having my daughter, I stepped on the court. Should I have? Probably not. What did that come with? It came with, at that time, we were sharing rooms in the WNBA. So I had to buy out my half of the room so my mom could come and stay with my daughter. I was nursing, before the game, at halftime. I was buying my mom's ticket to get to the games with us on the commercial flight. So all that came with it. But I just wanted to be back out there and play. And it was Lisa Leslie's last year. So I wanted to get back and be able to play with her before she retired. But when I tell you, it was a challenge because the thing I wanted the most in the world, immediately my reaction was, how are people going to react? And
how did they?
I think for the most part, I heard the whispers about how she would never be the same or how I wouldn't be able to balance both or,
But there were others that had children prior to that
not at the start of their career. Right? Yeah, but not
the
at
number one draft pick.
Tina
had Dylan when she was 34.
Okay,
30,
so
I think she was like 31,
so 32. A little bit older, not at the start.
Not at the start of the career. And so basically, my daughter and I,
the number one pick.
Yeah,
the year before. And so my daughter and I, we grew up together.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm super grateful that she was a part of my career because I don't know what I would have done, honestly. She kept me grounded. She kept me humble. She was that reminder that it was bigger than basketball. Yeah. And so she gave me an identity for the first time where I put the ball down to make sure she was good. And I had never done that in my life. Basketball had always come first. And so that was one of those realizations that if I do lose the game or if I do have to step away or when the ball does stop bouncing, I can be other things. And so I think she challenged me to be able to go out and find those other things.
1,000%. Including playing soccer against my daughter. So when did you know you were her? I know when I was him. And I know Cheryl scored 105 points. So I knew about Cheryl and what Cheryl was going to be and all that sort of thing. But what about you? When did you first realize I'm going to be Candace Parker?
I remember I was in 8th grade and there was a tournament at UIC. And it was our AAU tournament. It was a men's and women's tournament. So it was all games going on. And they had an MC downtown, and it was kind of the place to be, the tournament to be. And I looked around, and everybody was around our court.
Oh, wow.
And in warm-ups, they were dunk it, dunk it, dunk it, trying to get me to dunk it. And at that time, I hadn't gotten one down, but I went up and grabbed the rim, and everybody was like, ooh. And I remember looking around, and there were men playing over there, and they were all at our court.
Yeah.
And that was when I was I don't know if I was I'm her, but I know I was I want to be her. I want this. I don't know. Growing up in the Chicagoland as a suburban kid, I feel you're always tested. You're not tough enough, whatever. And I always say I graduated high school in the Burrs, but basketball, I graduated in the city. When I got the nod from Cappy Pondexter, kind of to take the reins in the state and be that number one player, that's when I felt okay, this is fun. To be a part of this and to kind of have this.
That 105 points for you, Cheryl, was that the moment?
One of.
But I ain't the GOAT,
No.
see?
Exactly. We're going to keep putting it underneath it. Put it underneath it every time.
You can't joke around.
I'm just saying,
you can't joke around these folks. No, it was definitely the highlight. And I dunked in the game, so.
What was the final score?
It's wild, casually.
179 to 24. See, I wasn't the only one scoring.
How many assists you have that game?
Oh, yeah, let's add the assistant. Let's look at the box score in general.
You know what? If I had... Actually, I had maybe 10.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 10 assists.
Hey,
I might have been close
100,
to... I know.
105 triple-double.
I know I was close to a triple-double.
That is wild.
It may not have been assists, but I know it was...
Can I ask you a question? Because I've always wondered, when people come down and score, a bunch, down. when you're coming down and you have 100 points, what are the eyes of the opponents like? Like, what do you see? Do you see, like, fear? Are they, like...
That look right there.
Like that?
Look in the camera like that. That's it.
Okay.
That was it.
That's what I was wondering, because I just... That had to be...
That, hey.
Like, they just was trying to come play a basketball game, and Cheryl just came for blood.
They probably had a running clock, too, in the second half.
They waved the white flag. They weren't calling the game at all.
But you guys, I didn't play, because I had to go back, because my mind's eye, I didn't play the last 2 minutes of the game. Found out I didn't play in the fourth quarter. Can you imagine the damage I could have done with another 8 minutes?
No. That's what I'm saying, no. Like...
That wouldn't have been fair.
That's not fair, man.
Fair as at all.
Come on now.
Not at all.
All is
So,
fair.
Candace, you're the first player in WNBA history to have your jersey retired by 2 different teams in 2 different arenas. Walk us through that moment. Tell us what that's about with the LA Sparks and the Chicago Sky. Most of your career was spent with the Sparks, and then you finished up basically with the Sky.
I mean, it's surreal. I think when you come to the City of Champions, I remember when I was watching the lottery, and it was between Chicago and LA for who was probably going to get the first pick. And being from Chicago, everybody was like, it'd be great, whatever. But it was like something in me wanted another challenge of being out west. And, that was my college years were during the Kobe and Shaq era, where it was just watching parade after parade in LA and the City of Champions. And, I going to Staples and coming out here for the first time and seeing all the jerseys and the rafters and just the franchise. And then Lisa Leslie and Delisha Milne-Jones and Nikki T, like all of them winning championships, the back-to-back to disrupt the Comets dynasty. So like I wanted the challenge. And so to come out here, when I looked up in the rafters, I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't envision my jersey, but I wanted to hang a banner.
Yeah. Like
that's what I wanted first. And to be able to win in 2016, I would have liked to have banners, plural. But we all know that sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way or things happen. But to hang a banner in Staples, I don't call it crypto neither. It's Staples.
No, it's Staples. It's Staples.
Yeah, like to hang a banner there, that to me is like the best part. And then to look to your left and see all the legends that come along with this city in general, and to think like my jersey's gonna be up there every time we walk in there, it's surreal. And then to go back home and to win in front of people that first watched me pick up a ball. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that the LA journey helped me in my Chicago journey, because I realized in the moments in Game 4, like you're playing for like much more than that. Right. You're playing for like the respect within where you grew up. You're playing to be like a champion for life. And so it's surreal to have 2 jerseys retired, 2 franchises. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is, I've been able to win at all of them. Yeah. And so, and I do have to give respect to Lindsay Whalen, because she does have a jersey retired at the Connecticut Sun and Minnesota Lynx. So she's the first. Okay. And the second.
Okay. Take me through the process of why you left the Sparks to sign with Chicago.
When you go through your career moments, I think sometimes when you look back, you always, as an athlete, are taught to fight through the hard, fight through the tough parts, battle through it, grit your teeth, get through it. I just felt like we were at a point, both as a franchise and myself, that in order for us to be our best selves, we needed a little bit of a break. And I don't know if I had liked who I had become to be, or who I stepped inside the lines with. I didn't like it. And I needed a change. And so I take full responsibility of being part of the problem. But I needed to figure out what I had learned from that situation. And there was nowhere else I would have gone other than back home. That's the only thing to me that made sense. And when I looked at weighing my options, I wanted to win a championship. Like, once you win a championship, people think it like satisfies you. No, like I feel like it makes the hunger more. Like you taste that filet mignon, you taste that Wagyu beef, like you're not like, ooh, I'm good. You're like, no, I want an A5. Like I want to order it again and again and again. And that's literally what winning in LA did. And if I wasn't putting myself in a position to try to win, like, what was I doing? And so to go to a team that fit just like a glove with my play, and they up pace and veteran leadership, and just were missing a piece. And so to be able to go there and bring all of the lessons that I learned from LA, like, LA had a huge hand in why we won in Chicago.
So, Cheryl, I heard you compare this great women's basketball rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese as Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
Can you?
Well, the reason I do it is, and it just because I'm old school. You had Magic and Larry, who competed in college, butted heads, championships. Magic won, Larry didn't. It's kind of like the same thing a little with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. But the difference is, it with the men, it's a rivalry.
Yeah.
And it's great theater. The narrative is always different with the women. We're either petty, we're jealous, envious. We can't just be, or two people who just generally, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I don't have to like you. I respect your game and everything else, but we don't have to be kumbaya. But it's the narrative by the media that bothers me. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think that the narrative behind women's sports is so interesting because they want to judge you for everything other than basketball in every element of life, how you act, what you say, how you dress, who you love, all of these things. But then they want to turn around and then when it's convenient, judge you for basketball. So it's just like, you can't win, honestly. And I feel like, you turn on and you talk about Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant when KD decided to go to Golden State. Everybody was tuned into that game to see how they interacted, how they whatever.
Exactly.
But the narrative behind it was so different.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, they just don't like each other. They don't bump shoulders. Oh, they went head to head. They don't like each other, right? But it's like, there's so many words that are used to describe women when we don't like each other that are way different. And it's similar to, like, we got back into the thug debate versus it's borderline like similar to the word usage of that. And so I feel like in women's sports, can we just make it about basketball? Like, can we just make it about winning or losing? Can we make a rivalry?
I get the narratives. I understand the narratives and I understand the storylines. But at some point, can we just look at the fact that Caitlin is a baller, she's a dog.
Hooper.
I mean, she wants to get after it. The same thing with Angel. Angel's game is ever evolving, which it should, and they both want to win. That should be enough in itself. But as long as, I could care less what people say, as long as it doesn't dictate who they are. Like you said, keep it in between the lines.
But how do we fix the racial component that's out there in terms of, a young lady from Iowa who's white, another young lady who's black from Louisiana, and now the media is now, and some of Kate, I guess I would say, can Kate
Chicago,
help
she's from Baltimore.
Chicago,
She's from Baltimore.
And then you got Indiana.
Listen, you're asking to fix, like, sports. Yes, we unite, but we can't fix
our world
society.
First.
Yeah, like, I think you're
first.
asking of these ladies, like, too much. And the narratives behind it, now everybody has an opinion, Twitter fingers, all that stuff. But I do believe, like, anything you say is going to be critiqued or changed in different ways.
Right.
Any soundbite that you take can be changed into whatever. Let's just get this straight. Have they grown the game? 100%. Has their rivalry helped in that? 100%. Is Caitlin Clark a freaking baller? Yeah. Is she a generational player? Is she fun to watch? 100%. Do people watch them when they compete and scrutinize every single thing? Yes, that's fine. Leave it as is. But it's just an interesting dynamic because I think, you always follow the patterns of what has come before you. And some of the same conversations we were having about Larry Bird and Magic. I mean, it was similar conversations. Now, what will come of it? They went on to be two of the all-time greats. So let's see if that happens.
And very good friends. And
exactly.
Very, very
good
friends.
Exactly.
So, Candace, let's talk about one of your old teams, the Sparks. They went out and got Kelsey Plum this offseason. You know, when you look back at your career with the Sparks in general, you had, I don't know, what, 9 different coaches, something like that? I mean, it's like
It
crazy,
was something like
right?
that.
Something crazy like that.
1 general manager and 9 coaches.
Yeah, it was like going through a cycle over and over and over again.
But that's the truth. I was looking at the list of your coaches.
Crazy. It was crazy. And so that's why I was like, let me figure out if it's me.
Yeah.
You know, like
I
you got to figure it out. But yeah, I think the organization is doing a great job of making steps. I mean, landing KP was one of the best free agents. I mean, to be somebody that is one of the hardest workers I've ever played with. To be one of those players that can set the tone, that can be the face of the league, of the organization, you know, and so I think you need that one piece. And so from a standpoint of being a former player and wanting what's best for the league, I think it was a step in the right direction. But I definitely feel like coaching in this league is so interesting because you look at last year and it was like 6 vacancies, you know, and there's still only 1 black female head coach in a league that is 80% African-American women, probably more.
Sort of like football in the NFL.
But I feel like the NBA has made that step in, okay, these are the rules that we're putting in play, and now we're seeing the success of what has come from that. So I think it's just all around like the opportunity, you know, from an organizational standpoint, front office. I'd like it to be more player heavy. I think we see that in the NBA. You see that a little bit in the NFL.
A lot of ex
players because you don't know what it is.
There's so many women that want to, former players that want to coach, and why they're not getting.
Why is the ratio from male to female so drastic in the W?
Again, we can't fix world problems. I mean, I'm just saying I can't fix world problems. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like, I mean, you talk about
we can't get out of our own way sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
The Dubs sometimes just simply can't get out of their own way. I think emulating some things is necessary, but it doesn't mean it's a good fit for you. If it worked for the men, great, tinker with it, but what fits best for us? And we lose sight of that because we're always trying to look at what somebody else is doing instead of honing what we have, building on what we have, supporting what we have, and moving in that direction.
When do you think we'll see a female like a Becky Hammond roaming the sidelines in the NBA?
Well, she was that person to me. I think she was the one that would have done it, but at what cost? And I think that's why she's in the WNBA, is that I feel like the NBA grind is hard as a coach. Like during the season, then there's really no off season. There's draft workouts. Then you got to go to summer league. Then it's like, okay, a little bit of a break. Then you're going straight back into planning for the next season. Like that's hard. And so Becky was valued and wanted by the Las Vegas Aces. And I have to commend Mark Davis because I feel like where women's basketball is, it's almost like an imperfect, perfect storm, meaning like Caitlin Clark, NIL, all of that showed the value of women and the ability to sell with player improvement and player experience. Mark Davis investing in the players. Yeah. Mark Davis having a practice facility, investing in a coach that's going to come in and be the player development. So like you're seeing the fruits of that. But I think that the NBA is going to obviously probably be the first league that it will happen. And if that person existed I thought it would have been Becky Hammond. But I just think that how are we interviewing? Like through what lens are you interviewing? And I think that's what corporate America is seeing as well. Like when you interview a woman through the lens of only a male leadership style, you're not going to get what you're expecting.
You're going to miss out.
You're going to miss out on it. And so I feel like there's different leadership styles. There are different ways to command a room. And you're seeing that. The NBA is a copycat league. Everybody's going younger and player connection. There's not old school. Like Tibbs was the last of the old school.
Maybe Rick Carlisle.
Okay, Rick Carlisle a little bit. I'll give you that. I'll give you Rick Carlisle.
That's it, right?
But I'm saying like Tibbs, like that old school, like we were just
run
about
you
to
into the ground.
Run you into the ground, like throw chairs, yell at you.
Pat Riley,
that's gone.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that anymore. Now you're seeing more of the Dagnalls. You're seeing more of the Adelmans. You're seeing more of like that hiring.
So Cheryl did the media thing, the coaching thing. You want to coach?
Okay, listen. There are so many things about you that I wish to accomplish.
That ain't one.
I know.
Is not one of them.
I told you so early.
My daughter told me.
Doing it.
My daughter told me early, Mom, you do not have the patience to coach. And that is, I'm going to listen because I just don't understand how you look at them as they like can't dribble the ball up the court. And you're not like, how can you not just do a simple dribble handoff?
Hey,
and you're patient about it. You was flying the sideline.
I was convinced. I was convinced that I was going to break the mold. You know how they say great players supposedly don't make great coaches? There might be some truth in that.
Yeah.
Because that coaching stuff will kill you.
Yeah, I
You were
told you.
real, but she was real fly on the sideline. Like
I
your
told her.
fits were,
Oh,
your
man.
tunnel fits were tunnel
Hey,
fits
my
before.
teams played how I looked. Come on now.
I'm coaching. I told her earlier.
What was the
Candace,
challenge?
can't
What was
do
the
it.
most challenging part?
Let's see. Not laying the hands on folks. The restraint of not laying the hands on folk.
So let's switch to this college basketball.
Never
Cheryl,
again. Never
Cheryl,
again.
talk a little bit about what you're seeing in Juju Watkins over there with our Trojans.
Wow.
Although she did get injured, with the ACL, and I'm sure
You know
she'll be
what?
bouncing back from that.
But that today is not that deep.
No, it's not.
You know, it in my case, that was a game changer. That was a career ender. But Juju is so talented. She's smart, on and off the court, well poised. She's tenacious at both ends. The sky is the limit for her, and it's going to be challenging for her to get back. The only thing that words of advice I would give her, and with knees and injuries and everything else, is give yourself grace, Juju.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself grace. Now, from reading your book, she was fresh off of tearing your ACL, PCL, MCL, and meniscus scar, the whole thing. 12 weeks, was it 12 weeks later, you're back at the gym by yourself wanting to do what?
Dunk.
And what did you do?
I dunked.
12 weeks after.
Don't recommend it. That's why I've had 10 knee surgeries. Don't recommend
12 weeks
it.
after destroying her knee, the kid comes back and she wants to do one thing, goes into a gym 12 weeks after surgery, and does what?
Dunk.
Yeah.
See, you had to go overseas, though, right, Candace? No? Yes. and no.
Here's the thing. I had to go overseas, but I got to go overseas. Like,
Okay.
I made my money overseas.
Yeah, so much like Brittany
it was-
Griner did. I remember Tina was
was
overseas a lot.
Everybody.
Where now-
Diana
Cooper was over
Taurasi,
there as
Sue
well?
Bird, Cappy Pondon,
Everybody.
every
But now,
player.
though, Caitlin Clark probably doesn't have to go
No, she
overseas
doesn't.
for the type of money that she's
Yeah,
getting
she
off
doesn't.
the court, correct?
She doesn't have to, yeah. And I
But
think
she's
a lot
not
of
the
that.
norm.
She's not
Right
the
now.
norm. You're right. But I think there's other supplementary leagues, like Unrivaled. But there's also endorsement opportunities and brands now that are more a part of it. It used to be the top 4 or 5 players in women's basketball maybe had 1 or 2 brand deals. Like, it wasn't like it is now, where you're seeing the Skechers come into the conversation and you're seeing beauty products and beauty. Like, it wasn't what it was. And so now I think from, yes, a league standpoint, but also from endorsements and the more people and brands that are being involved in women's sports, I think it's helping cushion that. But let it be known, like, I went overseas and made, like, the WNBA was my summer job. Yes, it helped put me center stage and allowed me to get the endorsements that I got, coming into the WNBA and in the WNBA. But, like, my job was to play in Russia for 6 years and to play in China for 2 and to play in Turkey for 1. Like, that's how I took care of my family.
Yeah, but you also got the
So
experience.
the dub was just a down payment on your house?
Listen, the job was, it was like a stage. It was like a stage to try to audition for endorsements. Nah.
I always say, from LA, we breed it different. Like, we're totally different. Maybe you may not be born and raised in LA, but you are adopted as an LA native, right? I've had different people on the show, Paul Pierce, myself, Baron Davis, just different guys from the LA area, so to speak. What impact, though, do you think that the city and how the city embraced you when you became a LA Spark?
I'll never forget the first conversation I had with Michael Cooper, LA legend, Hall of Famer. He was like, if you went out here, Silk was my nickname. So he's like, Silk, you went out here in LA, you will be forever.
Oh, absolutely.
Adopted, loved, like taken care of.
Yeah, we got you.
All those things. And I mean, I feel like there's a look that you get from people, especially people that have won from here.
Yeah.
That's different than others. And I've been out here almost 17 years. Jeez. Yeah. Been out here almost 17 years. I've lived here more than I've lived anywhere else in my life. And so it's so interesting now because people ask me where I'm from.
LA.
And before, I used to be like Naperville, Illinois, you know, whatever. Now it's like LA. Yeah. Like I'm from Naperville, but I'm from LA, you know? And my kids are so LA. They like want to wear the Dodger stuff and the Lakers stuff. I'm like, all right, we still Bulls and Cubs fans. Chill out.
Bulls hadn't won since Jordan. Nobody care about that.
I know. That's why nobody cares if I cheer for him because it's not a lot of cheering. But, you know, it's a different look and a different vibe you get from people in LA. And I think the respect is what you know comes with it. And so to win out here, it is different. And that's why I want to raise my kids here.
Cheryl, is that one of the main reasons you stayed close to home for that legacy because of the LA not going to, like, I think back then it was like Louisiana Tech and Tennessee was like the big basketball, college women basketball teams?
Hey, you know.
Because I'm sure everybody wanted you to help.
Keeping it 100. We couldn't afford it. Back in the day, schools couldn't fly you out.
Yeah. Oh.
So that recruiting-wise, over 200 schools, but you would have to fly yourself out to the school.
That is why. What?
See? Dropping a little knowledge, a little history, a little herstory. No, you had to pay for your own trips out if you wanted to attend.
I had no idea.
Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, had I gone on a recruiting official recruiting trip where they paid and fit the bill, who knows where I'd been. But because it was either UCLA or USC, mom and dad could get there, USC.
That's an easy layup. Man. You should have came to SC though.
I mean, NIL was a thing. I'd have been out.
It was a thing. It was just unofficial at Tennessee. That's all.
That's
true. It was an unofficial thing at Tennessee.
That's true. I know that, you know, I know Pat was above board with everything, but that's just Pat. I know y'all had some strong alumni.
Yeah.
Y'all had some strong alumni.
This is what we're doing. We gonna talk about the SEC and Tennessee.
I'm just simply saying.
Hey, and we won't say anything. Statute of limitations is over.
That's
get
true.
It. We don't say anything. It's all good. But thank you, Candace, for coming.
Appreciate you, man.
Really
appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys.
So much.
Like I said, Pat wasn't the only person on that campus.
Let's take a picture.